So, joined today by Kevin Basset from Basset Associates in North Carolina. Kevin, super excited to have a chat today. Good to have you here.
Great, glad to be here.
So, we started a coaching relationship 2 years ago, November 2018. Here we are, October 20, and keen to get a bit of a insight as to what the business looked like before we got started, and then we'll switch gears to what it looks like today. So, Kevin, before we got started, what did the business look like?
Sure. So we're just a little over $2 million. I'm a single shareholder, and we're dropping about 33% of the bottom line in that year that we joined you, where traditionally we'd been in the mid-30s. I'm big in managing by margin. So traditional benchmarking, mid-30s is okay, but we were starting to slip on that, and with labor costs increasing, was concerned that I wouldn't even be able to maintain low 30s going forward. And then when I got connected with your information, learned that low 30s is rubbish, even mid 30s is rubbish. You were dealing with, you were talking about much different margins. So I was interested in that, had to fix it. The other big thing we had was issues with our workflow. Things were moving just simply too slow. We like to maintain a 2-week turnaround time, and we were growing longer than 3 weeks and getting worse, right? It was deteriorating, and we weren't able to fix it on our own. So listen to your ideas, and you talked about a number of things with workflow, including hiring a client excellence coordinator and some other techniques. They completely reframes how a CPA firm approaches it. So that's where we're at, and that's why we came to you for help.
And so you've been in business about 20 years, or just over, already a good solid firm, couple of million revenue, good 30% margins, but really there was a lot more in you, so to speak, than you were doing.
There was no doubt in my mind that I was sitting on a business that could have $1 million personal profit to me, and we weren't, and wanted to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe every partner of every accounting firm should be making at least $1 million profit while working less than 500 hours. And the reason for that, you're leading your clients and you're supposed to be advising them. Then it's not about the money, it's about the way you run the business. You need to be running a better business than them. That's my belief. So fast forward 2 years. What does it look like now, 2 years later?
Yep. So in the first year with you, we grew 15% in top line, but nearly 40% on the bottom line. Wow. So huge improvement to margins. And that was 2019. We joined you at the end of 2018. And so we made some improvement, particularly on pricing, how we did things, measuring AHR, time over under budget. But we still had not fixed the workflow thing. Yeah. So interestingly enough, there was still great work to do. Still great work to do.
So what does it look like this year? What's going to look like this year?
Yep. So this year we're up another 10%. Would probably be a little more if COVID hadn't disrupted it a little bit as we took things home. That's just a temporary slowness to growth, which means we just grew a little slower. We also let go of some big clients that were not right fit. Now that I've gotten much less patient and tolerant of poor fitting clients that now that have been in your program, so that maybe slowed the growth a little bit. Nonetheless, we'll still have double-digit growth, but the big thing is we've absolutely continued to have an increase in our profit margin. So we're getting closer to that 40%.
So revenue this year should be around 2.6 million, something like that?
Yeah, probably at least 2.6.
Yep.
And easily 2.6. And, we'll be going to be really close to that $1 million at the bottom line as we approach that 40%.
Yeah, as I said to you a few months back, I think you'll do it this year.
How does it happen?
It can happen. We've still got a few months to go. Okay, so and as far as workflow, which is one of your objectives, what's happened with workflow?
Yep. So that so we saved that for year 2 in your program apparently, but so we didn't fix it in year 1, but in the end of year 1, we had we were checking out workflow softwares and ended up going on to workflow software, which we implemented the end of 2019 and actually and phased into it. Now we are absolutely using it the way we're supposed to, and which took a little bit, took a few months to get it going, and so that's going well, and that's paying good dividends, and then continuing to measure over under budget and AHR and turnaround time has improved. And
So what have you been doing? Like last couple of years, what are some of the key implementation things you've done to make a difference in the firm?
Yep. So part of it is how we measure and do accountability. So measuring time over under budget was key for us. Measuring AHR has been key for us, and how and looking at our pricing. Pricing was really the very first thing we did, and that was immediate results. And then, but measuring AHR has really made me look at all areas of the business anyway, and just changed how I price jobs as they come in or clients now.
So
And
as an example of that, so AHR is average hourly rate,
yep.
two ways to measure it. Average hourly rate for all hours worked. So we multiply 10 people times 2,000 hours, therefore 20,000 worked hours into 2 million equals $100 type thing. Or average hourly rate for client work, right? So client AHR, which is going to be client hours into revenue. So you might do 2 million in revenue, but you might do 10,000 client hours, therefore $200 type thing. So
Yep.
The focus that you had, and I want to really focus on the CFO service that you offer,
Yep.
because we had a dramatic change in AHR on that one. And
Yep.
From memory, it was around $500 an hour for that service. Just to first of all explain what that service is, and then let's
Sure.
unpack AHR on that.
Yep. So with our virtual CFO program, it's my true MRR. We build the clients monthly to be part of our program, and depending on the level, they're getting an hourly meeting with us either quarterly, twice a quarter, or monthly, depending on what level they sign up for. And with looking with HR, I looked at all hours of the business from the bookkeeping up. Bookkeeping, had way too low an hourly rate. That's on the low end of what we do as CPAs. And with that, we went to all fixed fee and got rid of hours off the invoices completely. They're gone. They're not there. And just price these things, drive time way down, and that helps our AHR. Now, on the top of my food chain is my virtual CFO. And as you said before, that was already my highest margin thing, at about $500 an hour, average hourly rate for that. But I was doing too much work. As you say, it stunk of effort. And and what I did is I, drove the time way down on that, took the prices up, and now we're over $1,000 an hour on the virtual CFO.
So what did you do to drive the time down? It's easy to increase the price, right? We're just going to charge more.
Yep.
But taking time out of a project like that to double the margin, what are some of the things you did?
Yep. So a few things. Number one, we have this disease as CPAs that we think we have to do all this work, and or in reality we don't. We had to provide an outcome, and so we were doing a whole bunch of prep work before the meeting, which was unnecessary, preparing reports when really all I needed to do was have the clients, self-help, pump their own gas, where they pull up their financials during the meeting, and we use my tool and fill it out during the meeting. So I have tools that, templates I use with clients. Also, some of that advanced prep, we automated, right? Have the computer do it instead of a person putting hours in. So simply eliminated the before and after work. And then as the meeting finishes up, I send them their tool and their CFO notes before we're done, 50-minute meeting, a little time right at the end to send all that out. And I've got an hour all in with that. So that means my average hourly rate, is anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500.
Awesome. Awesome. And that's one of the keys here. Once you understand what the number is and the number per service as you've identified, and the number per client, then we look to, okay, well, what can we do to improve this number? We can definitely increase, and to drive AHR, there's three factors. There's the price, the process, and the product itself. And what you're talking about is the process. What have we actually done to deliver that? And if we strip some time out and get the same result, then booyah, we've got higher margin for you, same result or better result for clients sometimes, and capacity for you to do more.
Yep. Absolutely.
What are some other things you've done?
Yeah, the other big things is I've been transforming our revenue to recurring revenue model, meaning that I've now our one-off stuff, which is some of the one-off consultings, I'm trying to drive that to a minimum. So I've now been able to keep that, looks like 2 years running, below 10% of revenue, which means I'm over 90% recurring, either MRR or AHR, or annual recurring revenue, AR. And so we'll still have some one-offs like mergers and acquisitions, IRS audit, things like that. But I've driven that way down, and I'm not accepting one-off projects at all. Now, early on, as CPAs are starting out, they certainly do, right? You got to make it rain. But we're big enough now that we have the luxury of doing that. I'm just getting rid of one-offs to as much as possible. So by having over 90% recurring revenue, it's much easier to plan. My team's utilization is much higher, and because it's recurring and we're doing it, and then our realization is also higher, which means our AHR is going to show a good number. Yep.
And
on both on client work and all hours worked.
You know, that's an interesting attitude shift, because that's what it is. Instead of saying I need every piece of business, you know, you said, no, we're only going to accept this piece of business, which is awesome. And your clients are all over the US, aren't they?
Yeah, we're nationwide and some in Canada, right? Yep.
And of the revenue, what percentage is the top of the food chain CFO service, as you said?
So of our total revenue, roughly 20%. Now, all of our clients are buying other things from us. So like a good CFO client is also spending a ton of money on tax prep and maybe financial accounting.
Yeah. So and what's your profile client? What do they look like? Your ideal profile?
So privately held, if they're a service company, at least minimum of $2 million in revenue. So generally kind of from the bottom up, they're all in the highest tax bracket for the most part. And so service companies tend to be 2 million and above, but most are more than 5 million. And then product company or construction contractors are going to be minimum of 5 million and above, but most are over 10.
And what do you do to find clients nationwide? You know, you're not the local Raleigh accountant. You know, you've got clients everywhere.
Yep. So we do. We've never done formal advertising, but what I do is a lot of public speaking around the country. I speak at different business conferences and events that are, you know, geared towards privately held business owners or large real estate investors, and I speak at those events, and that's how we get our work. And then it's that and referrals.
And what have you been doing in this lockdown, no travel, COVID times, as far as all these speaking events?
Yep, gotten really good at Zoom. Although I'm getting on my airplane for got my first in-person speaking thing since COVID in November.
Have you?
So an adventure. Got my mask ready. Yep. We're actually getting tested 3 days before the event starts, and it's gonna be in a bubble. Yep.
Yeah. There you go. Well, you'll have to brush off your suit, mate. I haven't worn it for 6 months.
Yeah, I don't think it fits anymore.
So, what about the future? What do you want to do with this business? Like, we've spent a couple of years effectively sorting it out. Let's say workflow, pricing, packaging, client fit. You know, we've had some good growth. You know, we've now around $1 million profit on 2.6, which is awesome. Where do you want to take this thing?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I like the number of clients we have now. So what we've been doing is dropping the bottom ones. We've been doing client discontinuance every 2 years formally. Now I think it's going to be more often. We cut the bottom ones, and we've been running about 400 clients, and we keep lopping some off. We've got a wait list that we've been maintaining for a few years and bringing them on as we want, and just bringing the good ones. So by doing that grow. I'm trying to have the best possible 400 clients I can, and looking at ones that grow and intend to keep growing. And I've noticed that our client base is our traditional clients have been growing older or wiser. I've been adding some younger ones as well from these speaking things that you know, have intentions of growing for a while. So I want a great stable of highly profitable growing clients, numbered around 400. That will put us over 3 million quite soon. And if I'm doing, you know, over 3 million and dropping at least 40% plus to the bottom line and continuing to grow that, you know, probably in the low double digits, that's pretty good living.
Well, yeah, it is a good living. It's actually really good. You know, it sorts life out. You know, life can be sorted. Debt's gone, and kids are looked after, families looked after, lifestyle is good, charitable givings, whatever you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, where most firms I meet, and you've met many of them as well, Kevin, you know, they hover around that $300,000 to $400,000 profit for the partner or partner earnings, and life is comfortable, but it's not wealth creation.
That's right. Yep. And what a lot of CPAs, we don't realize that, with our businesses, if we get them running right and you're making that, you're talking actually legacy wealth.
Mhm.
You're not just talking a good living, you're talking legacy money
You bet.
and multi-generational wealth if you just do it right. And I, fortunately have not quite hit the big 5-0 yet. I'm almost there.
Yeah.
But, bring that kind of income, and I'm big into health, and with keeping the hours under control, which is exactly what your program is designed to do, then you can do this a long time. You don't have to check out, at age 60.
Yeah.
Crazy. And where you keep doing it for many decades at that kind of income, you're literally talking about multi-generational wealth.
You bet.
And then with COVID, we've been living at the beach for 6 months, and that's pretty cool. This business, we can do that.
Yeah. So as part of redesigning your workflow and putting everything in the cloud and getting rid of the paper and having workforce anywhere, you're right.
Yep.
You can operate from effectively your iPad at the beach.
Yep, that's exactly what we did. And and that was great. That's something my wife and I have been wanting to do for a long time. And I don't want to minimize the global pandemic, but it did provide some opportunity, or at least catalyst for change. That might be a good way to put it.
Yeah, look, what I say, Kevin, is that communication acceptance levels have changed, where it's okay, as you've said, to do a speaking engagement on Zoom, as you've been doing. Yeah, it's okay to have a remote team on Zoom. It's okay to do a sales meeting on Zoom for a prospect, or a client delivery meeting, or whatever platform you use. And that, changes the mindset of the accountants to no longer be local, but to be national. And
absolutely,
quite easily as well. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And you're exactly right. Now it's, because it was required, now it is absolutely accepted.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, mate, let's say you've got a brand new firm in front of you. They've asked you for some advice to, get to your level or whatever. What would you tell them to do?
Yep. Yeah. A few things. So definitely getting the help. A lot of with your program, one, it's techniques that work. If you're make sure that the partners are open to change.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely was. And then now hearing it from somebody else, the team more receptive previously. So now Rob says it a little better. But getting the help. The other thing is, so not only the partners open to change, but then, make sure you carve out time for it. These things, you don't just go, listen to the material, read the material, take the tool, and it's done. No, you got to actually do the work. So be prepared to carve out some time to do some work. And the other thing I would say is, plan on more than the year. These things, to implement everything we want to, it's going to be at least a 3-year process. And, but good gracious, the outcome from it, we immediately, the program paid for itself 3 times over in year 1. And we hadn't even addressed our biggest issue yet. Like, how cool is that? Like, that was the appetizer. And then this year we did finally address our issue, and then got some other things to tweak. My big thing in year 3 is then now that we've got this recurring revenue, I need to break that into break them into fixed price agreements and get paid monthly.
Yeah.
And so our cash flows was already decent, got significantly better with this, especially this year. It's just pouring in. And if we really automate it and get paid every month, for everything, gets even better. So carving out the time, both hours to implement the stuff, and then length of time as well, time horizon.
Yeah, and be real about it. That as you said, you're in the objective here is to create generational wealth. That doesn't happen by bang, it's done, right? It takes some work. Just quick question, Kevin. How much work? Like, how many hours a week are you putting into working on the business? To fix these things that you're talking about, roughly.
Yeah, no, good question, and that's a good time to bring up how person structures their day. I'm a big believer in free focus and buffer days, and which is a concept of Dan Sullivan. So my focus days are Monday and Wednesday, and that's when I see clients.
Mm-hmm.
And Carol, my assistant's job, and that's another piece of advice. If you don't have an assistant, get one yesterday. But her job is to keep me scheduled from sun up to sundown every Monday and Wednesday. Every hour on the hour, I've got a meeting. Mm-hmm. And I'll take a lunch, nothing. I eat my protein bar and rock it. Tuesday and Thursdays I work on the business.
Right.
And then Fridays I work at least one Friday a month. And we strategically schedule, usually I do like half client days or half client meetings and then some wrap up stuff. So Monday and Wednesday I'm in the business, I'm billable, I'm doing CFO meetings.
Yep.
Tuesday, Thursday I'm working on the business, period. No meetings allowed.
Awesome. Mate, congratulations. We are, probably halfway through the journey as far as you getting this thing in a position where it'll just keep going and snowballing after that. We've got a bit of work to do. But after 2 years, great result. Looking forward to some more fun. Looking forward to seeing you, right? Whenever we can do that, right?
Definitely.
I don't think it's going to be this year sometime. Particularly from Australia.
Yeah, it'll be 2021.
Yeah. 21, yeah. But man, thanks so much. Really appreciate you. Really appreciate your success and sharing your wisdom today as well. Thanks, man.
Yeah, we appreciate all your help on the journey, and this has been fun, and we're not done yet. So thank you. Yeah.